From physical chains to financial shackles, how slavery evolved into modern financial debt. Are you truly free or are you just a well-compensated serf? We've traded whips for debt, plantations for paychecks, but has the fundamental power dynamic really changed? Let's dive into the uncomfortable truth about how slavery evolved into the modern financial system. Slavery through the ages, a brief global history. Slavery isn't just a dark chapter in history, it's a recurring theme. Understanding its past forms is crucial to recognizing its modern manifestations. Slavery in the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire thrived on slave labor. Slaves were the engine of their economy, fueling agriculture, construction, and even domestic life. Sources were brutal: war captives, victims of piracy, and even children born into slavery. They were treated as property, disposable, and without rights. African and transatlantic slavery. Slavery existed within Africa long before Europeans arrived, but the transatlantic slave trade amplified its scale and horror exponentially. Millions were forcibly taken from their homes, enduring unimaginable suffering. This fueled the wealth of the Americas while devastating African societies. Indigenous enslavement in the Americas. European colonists also enslaved indigenous populations. Systems like the encomienda and repartimiento forced them into labor. These systems decimated indigenous communities, stripping them of their land, culture, and lives. The impact is still felt today. Slavery in China and East Asia. Slavery and forced labor were also prevalent in China and East Asia. Corvée labor demanded unpaid work from peasants. The coolie trade in the 19th century exploited impoverished laborers, often under horrific conditions. These practices highlight the global nature of exploitation. European serfdom and slavery. Europe also had its own forms of forced labor. Serfdom replaced slavery in many areas, but serfs still lacked freedom and were tied to the land. Viking raids often resulted in the enslavement of Europeans. This demonstrates that no region was immune to the horrors of slavery. The common thread. Throughout history, slavery and forced labor have been sources of wealth and power. The methods may have changed, but the underlying principle of exploitation remains. After legal abolition, control mechanisms evolved. We moved from physical chains to more subtle but equally powerful forms of economic control. From physical chains to financial shackles, rise of economic control. The shift from physical to financial control is a slow burn, a subtle erosion of freedom. Central banking, fiat currency, and debt are the new tools of enslavement. Central banking and currency control. The creation of the Federal Reserve System in 1913 marked a turning point. It gave a private entity control over the nation's money supply. The Fed controls interest rates, influencing everything from mortgages to business loans. This power shapes the economic landscape. The 16th Amendment, empowering Congress to levy income tax, further solidified the system. It ensured a steady stream of revenue to service the growing debt. The gold standards end unlimited money creation. Nixon's decision to end the gold standard in 1971 unleashed unlimited money creation. Money became fiat, backed by nothing but faith in the government. This transformed money into a tool for manipulation. The value of the dollar has plummeted, eroding our purchasing power. Inflation as invisible tax. Inflation is a hidden tax that silently steals your wealth. Governments spend beyond their means and print money to cover the difference. This excess money devalues the existing currency, making everything more expensive. It's a way to demand unpaid labor from the population. Ballooning national debts and interest tributes. The U.S. national debt has skyrocketed, exceeding $36 trillion. This burden is passed on to future generations. We are saddled with unfunded future obligations like Social Security and Medicare. A significant portion of our taxes goes to paying interest to wealthy bondholders. Hostile countries like China are the second largest foreign holders of U.S. Treasury securities an estimated $760 billion. Iran and Venezuela also own U.S. Treasury bonds. Institutions of global financial control. A network of powerful institutions exerts control over the global financial system. Understanding their roles is crucial to understanding the system itself. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS. The BIS acts as the central bank of central banks. It coordinates monetary policy among nations. Critics argue that the BIS prioritizes the interests of global banks over the needs of individual countries. Its decisions have far-reaching consequences. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank. The IMF monitors exchange rates and provides loans to countries in financial distress. The World Bank focuses on development projects. However, the IMF often imposes strict loan conditions, leading to accusations of debt colonialism. These conditions can harm local economies. The Club of Rome. The Club of Rome warned of overpopulation and resource depletion. Some accuse it of pushing a global governance agenda. Their focus on sustainability can be seen as a justification for limiting individual freedoms and economic growth. The Committee of 300. The Committee of 300 is an alleged secret council of ultra-elite families. They are said to coordinate politics, banking, media, and even wars. While its existence is debated, the idea highlights the concentration of power in the hands of a few. The Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is a private policy discussion forum. It aims to foster consensus among industrialized powers. Some worry that it dilutes popular power, allowing elites to shape policy behind closed doors. America's debt burden and the invisible tax of inflation. The weight of debt and inflation crushes the average American. We're working harder for less, trapped in a cycle of financial servitude. Every American owes the national debt. Every American is responsible for a share of the national debt. This includes unfunded future liabilities. We are borrowing on behalf of ourselves and future generations. This debt burden limits our economic freedom. Taxes seen and unseen. We pay a multitude of taxes: federal income taxes, payroll taxes, and state and local taxes. But inflation is the most insidious tax of all. It disproportionately affects the poor and middle class, eroding their savings and purchasing power. The decline of the dollar and your cost of living. Real wages have stagnated while the cost of living has skyrocketed. Housing, healthcare, and education are increasingly unaffordable. Each generation is working longer and harder for the same goods and services. The American dream is slipping away. The Great Reset, toward a global financial overhaul and loss of control. The Great Reset is a proposed global financial overhaul, but will it lead to greater freedom or further enslavement? Calls for a new Bretton Woods. The IMF has called for a new Bretton Woods movement. This could involve leveraging special drawing rights, SDRs. Some fear this could lead to the replacement of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central banks are researching and piloting digital currencies. CBDCs offer programmable features and surveillance capabilities. Concerns about privacy and freedom are paramount. Will CBDCs give governments unprecedented control over our finances? Asset-backed currencies and gold's resurgence. BRICS nations are discussing alternative payment systems. This includes a commodity-backed reserve currency. This could shift power away from the US dollar and towards countries with significant natural resources. Loss of national sovereignty. The trend towards centralization of power raises concerns about national sovereignty. Individual property rights could also be at risk. We must be vigilant in protecting our freedoms and resisting the erosion of individual liberty. Here are 17 ways to protect yourself. Financial strategies for freedom and resilience. You don't have to be a victim of the system. Take control of your finances and build a life of freedom and resilience. Break free from the invisible chains of poverty and control. 1. Embrace minimalism and frugality. Reduce your consumption and live below your means. Reduce your monthly expenses by canceling unnecessary subscriptions. 2. Eliminate high-interest debt. Fight against the debt servitude. Prioritize paying off credit cards and other high-interest loans. 3. Hold real assets, gold, silver, Bitcoin. Diversify your portfolio with assets that hold their value and keep pace with rising inflation and safeguard against the dollar. 4. Diversify out of the banking system. Explore alternative financial institutions and storage options. Become your own bank. Investigate United States Postal Service money orders. They don't expire, and you can redeem at any United States post office. 5. Build an emergency fund, liquidity and flexibility. Save at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. If possible, tuck away 1 to 2 years of savings. 6. Invest in hard skills. Become your most valuable asset. Learn valuable skills that will always be in demand, like HVAC technician, internal combustion engine and electric vehicle technician, and low voltage technician. 7. Homestead or community gardening. Grow your own food and reduce your reliance on the grocery store. Start a herb garden. Use natural cures, remedies, and supplements to relieve minor conditions like headaches, upset stomach, or sprains. 8. Buy used and repair. Extend the life of your possessions and save money. 9. Leverage government auctions and foreclosures. Find deals on real estate and other assets on HUD.gov, VA.gov, or Vendy Homes, bank-owned properties. 10. Consider house hacking or co-living. Reduce your housing costs by sharing space with like-minded friends, family, or co-workers. Build a community. 11. Develop multiple income streams. Don't rely on a single source of income. Be prepared for a layoff, furlough, or reduction in force. Become your own boss. 12. Prep for emergencies. Become your own FEMA. Be prepared for unexpected events, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, and tornadoes. 13. Mimic the wealthy. Study and learn legal tax loopholes to protect and shelter your financial assets. Study how to form a 1099, LLC, or a C or S corporation. 14. Utilize barter and alternative economies. Trade goods and services without using traditional currency. 15. Optimize transportation costs. Reduce your reliance on cars and explore alternative transportation options. 16. Strategic buying, bulk and sales. Stock up on essentials when they are on sale. 17. Take advantage of free money. Utilize government programs and incentives for housing, education, and starting a business. Look for angel investors or SBA loans. The time to act is now. Don't wait for the system to collapse. Start building your financial freedom today. Research these strategies, implement them in your life, and share this video with others. Let's break free from the financial shackles and create a more just and equitable future for all. Subscribe for more empowering content and join the fight for financial freedom.